complex sentence. And then they get to work, and it's called a self-paced learning project, because unlike, I think, the forums to this, where everybody had to send in their votes together and you could only move on slowly with the whole class, with this they can race through it, and if they are really more able, then they can finish that activity. They're allowed 10 minutes for it, but some of them finish in 4 or 5 minutes, and they then have some work, related work usually, ready to move on to in key skills time. The slower ones can take their time, and whilst they're working on it, you can freeze the screen that they can see on your whiteboard, and you can go into this, which is the teacher view. Now, I've just moved the screen along a bit, because here's the list of children's names, and there's the questions. And you can see that there's a lot of green there, which means that they're getting on pretty well with using commas to separate different ideas in complex sentences. But there's the odd child who is really struggling, lots of red there. That particular child was very much an additional needs child, but really just wanted to, it was probably too hard for her, but she wanted to have a go, and rather than let her sit and do something different, we always let any of the lower ability children have a go. You can see that some children didn't finish in the 10 minutes, and that some children had to have more than one go to get the questions right. But that doesn't really matter. What you do then is click on the arrow and go on to the next screen, and that ranks them. So for a group of Year 5 pupils who have never really had, because we don't really go in for a lot of dry formal grammar teaching, we try and teach the grammar through reading and creative writing, but actually, to be getting over 90, 80, 70, the high 60s, we've got a really bright group here who don't really need much more formal teaching on this aspect of grammar. We've got 1 or 2 at the bottom who are really additional needs, and it's probably beyond them. But this is the group that we're interested in, because this is a fantastic assessment for learning tool. And what you can do is immediately see which children need more practice, need teaching, one-to-one, contact with a human, because computers are great, but they will really only go so far. They're not actually going to teach a child, they're going to tell you whether that child is fine with it. So you then pick out those children. The ones who have finished it quickly and scored highly have an independent learning task, and then you, or your classroom assistant, if you're lucky enough to have one, will sit with these group of children just for 5 or 10 minutes every day, and will go over that basic rule of grammar. If you want to see why somebody had to have 5 attempts, if we go on to the next screen, it will actually highlight and show you their answers. So if it's a spelling rule that you've been going over, drop the E to add ing, it will show you their wrong attempts and how they got to their right answer. So again, fantastic assessment for learning tool. There's nothing here that you couldn't assess yourself as a teacher. It's just that after every morning session, I felt it would take you the rest of the morning to look through the children's books. They wouldn't have done as much because they would have had to write it all down. And at the end of the morning, I could have told you who has got the idea of using commas and who hasn't and who needs more practice. But this was done instantly, and I didn't need to trawl through the books for a whole morning. I could tell straight away. So the $64,000 question was, did it make any difference to their writing? Well, we're waiting for the results of the project to be published by the University of York, so I don't know what the overall picture is, but obviously we're very keen to see has it made a difference in our school. And we think it has. I've photocopied 3 children's work. Yes, just the next slide. And the top sample was before Christmas, because we started the project in January, and the lower example was a spring term, towards the end of the spring term. This Year 5 child wasn't using speech marks and had probably heard many, many times that the rules of speech marks, but it's simply gone in one ear out of the other. And yet, after using this and having another go, she hadn't got it right, and wanting to have a go and wanting to get it right, she's using speech marks, and it's looking a lot more like a level 4 piece of work, even though she's only really still in Year 5. So the next child had a problem with tense. She kept changing. Is and was were sprinkled throughout her work indiscriminately. But there's a unit on using the correct tense, and then within a matter of weeks, doesn't matter whether it's been since Year 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that they have been taught speech marks, keep the same tense. They weren't doing it, but the technology has made them more interested, or at least eager to have a go, and then this child's word is now keeping to tense very nicely indeed. And the last child could not grasp that proper nouns have capital letters, so we had names all over the place with lowercase letters, and now we've got Desi and Heidi and Rose, all with capital letters. Interestingly enough, though, Manchester still has a small n, so obviously she's learned that names have capital letters, but she needs to work on places as well. So, all in all, the actual experience was very positive for the children in our school. They can't wait to get their hands on the handsets. They race in and they are sitting down and going to get their handset first thing every morning. Whilst the study was on, we did have to use the technology every single morning because there was quite a long list of things that we had to get through. But now that the project is over, the resources are still available to us, and I think they are going to be sort of put onto it's Learning Clip. They've got some maths resources on there that you can use the handsets with as well. And I'm not sure of the details of how expensive it is, but we are going to, as we are allowed to keep the technology now, after the project, we're going to subscribe to that and hopefully see the same improvements in maths as we have seen in literacy. Now, if we had the Vote Manager loaded, we would have been able to let a few of you have a go, but it hasn't all been loaded properly, so I can show you a preview screen. This one here, which you can, when the children are looking at it, you can maximise that. And that's just a fairly simple one really, adding ing to a word and deciding whether it needs the E dropping or something like that. They have 20 questions on their handsets, and they don't need to wait for everybody else. They can just go through them at their own pace. On the actual screen that's in your classroom, there is a bar across the top, and it doesn't appear here. And each of there's 20 little blocks at the top, and you can see by how much of it has turned green and how much is red, what percentage of your class are getting a question right. If more than a couple of little red lines click up, you click on it, you can stop it, you can drag the board down, and you can explain the rule and pause the whole system. And I'm out of time, I believe. But we very much enjoyed it. So.